Now in this session I'm going to talk about production numbers in Student Show in the review format. Sometimes you need to create big production numbers involving the entire cast in Student Show because you need a change of pace in the review format, which otherwise tends to consist of sketches, solo songs, ensemble numbers and dance numbers. But you need to start with a good idea, and I'm going to speak in this session about two production numbers from the 1977 Student Show, Royal Flush. The idea for the opening number for the show that year came from Bill Smith, the set designer for the Student Show for several years by that stage. Now Bill, who was an art teacher by profession, had a knack for creating great colourful sets to order. But I went to him and I said, "Have you got an idea for a set that we could actually build a production number around for the opening?" And Bill said yes. He discovered that every 2 years British Airways would replace the emergency slides on their aircraft. And he was pretty sure that if he asked them, he would be able to get some of those slides and use them for a number in the Student Show. The only proviso turned out to be that he had to fly down to Heathrow in order to pick them up, which he duly did. And so it was that I wrote the song Reaching for the Skies, which became the opening number of the 1977 Student Show. The curtain went up on a raised set. One of Bill's recently acquired emergency slides would deploy with a great hiss of compressed air, and the cast came sliding down it one by one onto the stage, and then sang the number. We had a contingency plan in case one of Bill's slides didn't deploy, but I'm happy to say that in the 8 shows that we did that year, it only failed to deploy once. So, job done. It was certainly an unusual start to a Student Show, but one of my favourite big production numbers was The Gentlemanly Oilman from that same 1977 show. A genuine musical collaboration between me and my good friend Willie Reid, whom I'd first met in the previous year's show, A Just in Time. I have here actually some of the original manuscript, which was what we worked on, and it's fascinating looking at it after some 40 years. Everything ranging from what I suppose was really Willie's original idea, the introduction to The Gentlemanly Oilman, titled Three Sma Beginnings, and containing my original piano score. On 24 stave manuscript, there's Ian Maxwell, the musical director's more comprehensive piano score, which put the whole number together, and lots of the scraps of paper on which bits of the original lyrics were written. I can still remember sitting with Willie in the front room of my parents' home in Mid-Stockett Road, sitting at the piano, creating the words and music for what became The Gentlemanly Oilman. Now, Willie was one of the stars of the Student Show in the late 1970s and had one of the 2 best singing voices of anyone that I worked with in any Student Show. The other one, by the way, was Hal Johnson, who last sang on stage in Student Show in 1973's Fitsat, which happened to be my first show. He became the show administrator the next year for Fits Next, and went on to become a professional opera singer and actor. You can actually see him in the 2004 film of Phantom of the Opera, playing the part of Basserino. Anyway, Willie had this idea for creating a production number around a northeast loon who not only becomes a great success in the oil business in Aberdeen, but also a great success with the ladies, because he's a lover and a gentleman. Now, Willie is himself originally from Cornhill, right out in the wilds of the northeast near Banff. And Willie in his Student Show days was a bit of a heartthrob with the ladies himself. So while I was left wondering just how much of Willie's tale was semi-autobiographical, it was pretty clear from the beginning that we were also creating a vehicle for Willie to star in. Now, The Gentlemanly Oilman is in 2 parts. There's the opening song, which is almost a Doric recitative, which at this distance in time I think was mainly Willie's creation. a solo tale of rags to riches in the North Sea. All too believable at a time when the North Sea oil industry was young and roaring at full throttle. Then we morph into this second part of the number, which is the solo and full cast part of The Gentlemanly Oilman. Willie and I hammered out the words and music for this on the piano, and it's something of a sprawling number. It's got solo parts, it's got full cast parts, it even has a tap dance at one stage. But it worked well on stage because Willie the actor and charmer could carry the story and a Stetson hat. And as you're about to hear, he could certainly carry a good tune. And I've always thought The Gentlemanly Oilman, if nothing else, was always a good tune.
This is a story of country loons that's sticking at the squeal. But then it dreams of foreign lands and funny climes as well. But this young loon started out gay smart. He was Cumble crafter folk. Knew his heats had been the man. His good fortune, it's no joke. His father said to him, "A boy, your face for your mind's nae on this country work, so away you go." So the country loon lay on his and there he went to share lemon science, maths, and geography till he left there. He is fun, he is grand, and his knees are done. He's the richest crafted boy in all the land. Now he was a country loon, and he said very true, he's gentle in the oil. He is fine, he is grand. Derricks in the desert.